So the first thing we're gonna do with the Catalan paella, generally they do it with fideos, with the small vermicelli noodle, little. Yeah, it's great for to do it that way. I personally think if I'm gonna have pasta, I might as well get some nutrition. So I'm using whole wheat noodles, and it's just to make it a little bit more nutritional. We've got some oil. We're gonna do a little bit of oil. I'm gonna make a much smaller quantity, obviously, because I'm not working with the correct pan, but it's okay. We're gonna make it work. Little bit of olive oil. These induction. Ooh, I want to brown my noodles almost to the point that they might look like they're burning, but they're not. Now, the trick also of this is you want to really break them even smaller than this, because when you start flipping them in the pan, of course, they're hard, right? So if you want to flip and you want them to stay inside of the pan as opposed to all over the counter, then it really behooves to have them very, very little. Again, the great kitchens here at the school, who actually are lovely and who have been helping me this year in many a cooking demo, did all of this, and so really the hard work went to them. I just literally showed up just now. So brown it almost to the point where you see it burning. Yes. I would say that my little Cuisinart, I now am addicted to my little green juice, the NutriBullet. I like that a lot for little tasks. I use it a lot more than just juicing. I love my pressure cooker. That is the one thing I could not live without, because it helps you. It's a great tool for quick cooking from scratch. It's also a great tool for healthy cooking, and because it preserves all of the liquids, and it's super fast when you didn't plan ahead. So I can come home and I can go into my freezer and I can grab 2 bags of whatever frozen fish, or one. I can go into my pantry, organic stock of any kind. I can grab some dry beans. I can grab whatever dry spices out of my cabinet, throw everything frozen in, seal it, put it on the top pressure, and I can be eating in 20 minutes. So, a slow cooker makes you have to really plan the meal. Chop, cut, do. I use my pressure cooker for arroz con leche, for desserts, for risottos, for soup stews, for anything. I mean, take a chunk of frozen pork, and in 20 minutes, you can have pulled pork. So, it's also a great money savers. Here's where our browning is starting. I'm just going to make a small portion for you guys to see, but now, the one thing, my recipes are very, very simple. But when it comes to rice and when it comes to noodle, I have a pet peeve. Do not touch it. Because at that point in time, you're going to be releasing all the starch. That's when I start adding the liquid and all the other ingredients. See, we want toasty, toasty. Don't be scared. Generally, well, people will see this and they'll go, "Oh, pero se me va a quemar. It's gonna get burnt." Do not be scared. You want it now is when you can stare it, because we're toasting it. We're not cooking it in liquid, so it will not be releasing starch right now. And then on the side, I'm gonna put some onions. I don't want to at this point in time over stir here. I'm yet not putting in my garlic because I would burn it. But I'm gonna do a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, little bit of paprika. I'm just eyeballing it. Just a tiny bit of paprika. Now, here comes the kicker. It sounds weird. The idea is for you not to be able to taste it. The idea is for it to create a layer of flavor that is unidentifiable, but that builds on the flavor. A pinch of cinnamon. Now, if you go a little bit over with the cinnamon, you will taste it and it will change the recipe. So make sure that you go sparingly, just a little bit. The idea is not that you taste it. Let's see what else we're going to put in here. My saffron. Normally, I would have liked to have heated this a little bit so that my saffron really dissolves and the flavor dissolves evenly. But I'm going to let it sit in there a little bit, and then later we're going to have it join. Put the garlic in now. And again, I'm making a very small portion just because I'm using this pan. Sherry, a little bit. I'm going to save some for when all of the rest is in. At this point in time, we're going to mix it up. We're going to put in stock, tomatoes. You can use canned. Ideally, I'm not a fan of canned ones anymore because of all the leakage of the can, but you can cut up some fresh ones, mix it up. Now, you're going to lose some of the crisp, but the idea is to not lose all of the crisp. Regardless, it's going to cook and it's going to have the liquid in it. So I feel like I'm missing an ingredient. Did I put the garlic? I did, right? I did the cinnamon. We're going to do a little bit of parsley, but we're going to save most of the parsley for the end so that we don't overcook it. And now, really, I mean, this is the recipe. So what we're going to do is just lay the ingredients that are going to sit on top. The idea is that now I'm going to put a few of these. These are frozen. You can just do frozen. I am going to cover this for a little bit with a foil. And then I'm just going to let it sit for, imagine, like 10 minutes covered. Once I uncover it, I'm going to put in all the seafood, which once you put in the seafood, really, it's 10 minutes. And that's it. You want to just lay it all on top, cover it in 10 minutes. Everything has opened up, and it will steam with the flavors from the bottom. It's got the saffron, it's got the paprika, it's got the garlic. It will have those flavors. Now, some calamari. Again, you can have all of this frozen in your freezer. If you want to do it and you want to do it for a big party and you want to save money, you can play with chicken, you can play with pork, I mean, duck, anything of your liking. This is really the basic of the recipe. Now, imagine that this is our foil paper, and we're going to cover it and we're going to put it to medium. So the idea is that you want, at this point in time, as you saw, once I put in that seafood, no more stirring. What we want at the end is that the bottom has that sucorat, as they call in Spain, that is like el pegado, the burned, kind of toasty bottom, and that the rest is kind of also dry. If you start stirring it, now that it's got liquid in it, it's almost as if when you're making pasta. Imagine that when you throw in the pasta, if you don't stir it those first 3 minutes, which is when it releases all of the starch, so you want to think of that, just like the rice, you don't want to be over stirring. So we're going to leave it very quietly. We're going to time 10 minutes. Someone wants to help me time because I'll be yapping and I'll forget. So if someone, who's going to time me? 10 minutes. Thank you. This is frozen seafood, yeah, and some of it was still pretty cold, but you can obviously take it out the minute that you know you're going to start chopping your onion to cook. Just bring it out. But yeah, I mean, some of it was very cold too. I mean, ideally, it would be at room temperature by this point, just so that you make sure that it cooks evenly. But it is what it is. What it is. What you have at home at the moment that you decide that you're making this. Later, what we're going to do is that we're going to add some more of the petit pois, the peas, and we're going to put to decorate it the lemon wedges to bring it to the table. And then we're going to have more of the fresh parsley on top. So we're going to have nice color and flavor. And once you put the lemon on it, it really mixes so nicely. I promise you, you will not taste the cinnamon. Quinoa is, to me, is one of the seven wonders of the world. I mean, really, it's you can cook it in so many different ways. You can use, instead of noodles, you could have used quinoa in there. I do it at home for myself because I prefer pasta when I'm watching my weight and trying to be as clean as possible. Then I would have preferred that instead of the whole wheat pasta. I do cold quinoa. I cook it as if it's rice. I let it cool, and then I'll turn it into a salad. You can shave carrots into it, zucchini. You can do an avocado dressing with lime and cilantro with a little bit of oil only, salt and pepper. You can cook it as if it is. I do arroz con pollo, but instead of the arroz, I do quinoa. But then I triple up on the veggies so that you're just playing with the ratios. But it's really, I mean, and then in the morning, quinoa with almond milk boiled with a little bit of honey or stevia with cinnamon in it, with some banana in it, is delicious. And you can put a little bit of vanilla extract in it. So it's really about thinking of it, not being scared of it, because people tend to be scared of quinoa. Quinoa is the easiest thing to cook. You throw it in a pan, you cover it with water, you put it on, and 20 minutes it's ready. Sometimes even less than 20 minutes. The only thing that is important is that you wash it really good because it has the saponin. Some of it will say pre washed, but if not, then you have to wash it. So while this cooks, let's move on to our vinaigrette first. I like garlic and I like it cooked, but if I'm having a salad and I'm having a bite that happens to have I don't want to be having raw garlic in my salad. So um, that's where the shallots will come in handy. We're going to do just a little bit. And we've got sherry vinegar. See, again, to me, I tend to, if you have a well stocked pantry of vinegars, you don't need to have many, but sherry vinegar is one of my favorites. I got so sick and tired of the brown vinegar, the balsamic. Oh my God. It's like, that's probably the only food that I could say lately that I am in the not like with. And because it overpowers everything. I don't care how little you put. If you have a great tomato or a great frisee, you put that on and you can't taste anything anymore. So this is a couple steps away from that, yet because of the sherry, it really has nice flavor. It's great for cooking too. It's great for desserts. Just to add a tiny bit of sherry vinegar takes it to the next level. So if you bring in the bottle, just don't be scared of using it. Use it 1,000 ways. So we're gonna do as you see. I told you it was a guava vinaigrette. Look at the amount of guava I'm using. It's nothing. It's just a little bit, and I'm gonna do also a little bit of guava nectar. Now, why would you buy the entire guava paste, which is generally 8 ounces? Because it actually stores really well in your fridge. You took that little chunk. Tomorrow, you can maybe do a quick dessert with ice cream and some guava, or you can take cheese and guava. And maybe if you want to grab some puff pastry out of the freezer, and now you want to do a puff pastry with queso and guava, you can use it that way. It is great for barbecue sauces. And I have online and in my book recipes of barbecue sauces with it: star anise, vinegar, garlic, onions, a little bit of curry powder, delicious barbecue sauce. What else? You can make juice out of it if you want. It's great with little chunks in a salad as well. So, again, just to justify the purchase of the ingredient. I hate it when people are not used to certain ingredients and then you bring it in your house and it's like it sits there. What am I going to do? You have no idea. This is why I like giving. And in the new book, I do a lot of that. Not that I use a lot of ingredients that are foreign, but like something like this, I'll just give you other ideas, very quick chica tip, what to do with the rest of it so that it doesn't go to waste. Yes. Pasta de guayaba, sí, viene siendo casi igual que aunque el bocadillo colombiano creo que lo procesan un poco diferente. In English, the Colombian bocadillo is processed slightly different. So, yummy bocadillo with queso blanco. Yes. Yeah, we in Colombia and in South America, you pair the guava with a white cheese. Any nice salty white cheese makes a good sweet and salt type of thing. So that was our guava right there. We're going to do a little bit of guava nectar. If you want to avoid this step, not, and the reason why I wrote it both ways is in different parts of the country. I don't know, sometimes there's not everywhere. Uh, Finding guava paste in Oklahoma is not easy. So pretty soon it will be, I think, but and most of the country, the way things are going. So I also gave the option of having some guava nectar. Generally, you go into a fridge at any supermarket. You might, it's easier to find it, I think, in the general supermarket. The other thing that you can do, which actually is one of my favorite things to do, is to buy it frozen, the pulp of guava. But that really is in Latin markets, where you buy it in the section where they have the passion fruit frozen pulp. And hopefully, if it comes non sugar, even better. And then you can control, and then you can play with honey, etc. So I have all those options here. My recipes are made for people like myself. It's like you need to do it quick. You want to dirty as little amount of things because you have to do your own cleanup, and you want to eat delicious in a very easy way. So we're going to take this off. Now we're going to sprinkle in, because this by now is room temperature, but now you see that you have the steam is going to warm it up, but it looks much nicer, greener than the one that cooked in. And the visual part is also very important. Some of the fresh parsley, and then we're going to put the lemon wedges, and then voila. Now, remember that I chatted a lot. If you were to go into your kitchen and do this by yourself without chatting to people, it would have been easy breezy. I mean, you would have been done so much faster. Now, what happens when you open up a big thing like that and you use half a cup or a cup? Take the rest, pour it into ice cube trays, freeze it. Once frozen, dump it into a Ziploc bag, label it, and here comes the other of that. 7 cubes equals 1 cup liquid. So really, to me, my ice cube trays, if you look at the ones in my house, they're all stained because I'm always freezing things in them and they kind of take the color. So if it is a green sofrito, then it's got all from the recaito, that really taints them. Or if it's something with curry or anything, but that is really a great savior in the kitchen, the freezing and ice cube trays. And remembering 7 is 1 cup. Okay, dressing. We did the vinegar, we did the shallots. We are going to do some pepper, some salt. I have honey here. I'm going to first pour the oil. I'm going to taste it. If I feel that it needs a little bit more of sugar, then I will. The idea is not to have an overly sweet dressing, and the idea is that it's the type of dressing that just a little bit goes a long way. We have the figs also in there with the salty of the thin sliced manchego and the hazelnuts toasted. So we won't need a lot of dressing, and yet it's a different type of salad. Now, if you want to turn this salad into a main dish and call it a day, you can buy some serrano ham sliced next to it or prosciutto, and you've got a full meal. You got your protein, your veggies, you got your fruit, and so that would be a nice meal for a lazy day as well. So I didn't taste the one that you guys are having, so I'm not sure how the dressing was balanced, etc. That's one, yeah, that's one of the things that always taste as you go along, and that way you can adjust and balance out. And really, in an ideal recipe, you don't want to have to put a bite in your mouth and taste one specific item. You want it to like, what is this? So that means that it's balanced. You have a little bit of everything, but it's not cinnamon, or it's not garlic, or it's not tomatoey, or it's not just acidity. You want to have that balanced out. The other thing of a dressing like this, it keeps really long. You can also freeze it in cubes if you want. I would do this. This could be great in any sauce or stew that you're making a little bit to add some flavor. I sometimes put it in a sippy cup in my fridge. That way I can just sprinkle and have a little bit of flavor, but I'm not necessarily drenching and having all the calories. I always try to, although I don't necessarily like counting calories, when it comes to oils and dressings, I always say to people, if you were to just be doing olive oil, it's about 135 calories per tablespoon. And trust me that when you take your bottle of oil and you're going like this, and when you actually grab a spoon and you go like this, you realize the difference of what's happening, the quantities that you're using. So, just to keep in the back of your mind when you're doing and you're trying to be healthy and having few calories with your salad. So, the idea of the frise, like a little bit of a bite, you want a little bit of a crunch. I'm not sure that I would like it with a soft salad. If it was a soft salad, maybe with something bitter. Why? Because so that it's a real play bitter, sweet, salt, texture, and a little bit of sweet, but very little. Yum. Now, when you're making this, be careful. If it comes out too acidic, like this, I would probably, if it was for myself, because I don't want to add more oil, I would add a little bit of water. Not everybody likes it that way, but just to soften it up a little bit, not to put more sugar, not to put, that's also a very personal thing, but especially when you're working with ingredients like a guava that changes drastically, even if it's the same brand that you buy, sometimes it can be super sweet because I make a lot of barbecue sauce with it. Sometimes I notice it's like, my God, it's one batch to the next can be so different and it looks the same. It's the same brand, same package. So when you work with ingredients like that, regardless, that's why it tastes. So I like doing my salads in flat layers because you know how you use a bowl, all these things go to the bottom and you're kind of fishing. This way, if you build a little bed and you layer everything evenly on top, then everybody just grabs a slice that has a little bit of evenly of everything. The reason that I'm playing with that sugary, which normally I rarely have sugary dressings, is because of the bitterness. That's why we're also doing. Because if you have a bite of it alone, I agree, it's too bitter. It's really about, and that's why, especially with this type of salad, you want to have those even bites where you want a little bit of everything in the same bite because that's how it combines well. We're going to do some figs now. Now, if you can't find figs, pears would be a great option in the salad. Even roasted pears would be fun, thick wedges, but then roasted so that they don't become puree. I don't want to overdo it either. Yeah, you just stick it on a sheet pan like that and cut some wedges, broil any type of fruit, throw it in there. You just slice it. The natural sugars come out. If you do it on the stove top in a grill pan, and if you don't move it and you actually spray them with like oil spray, you put it when it's really hot and you don't move it, it'll get the grill pans in it. And then you can serve it with a scoop of ricotta or ice cream, or and then you can put toasted coconut on top, which I always keep in my fridge. Toasted coconut for everything. For salads in the morning and my quinoa that I boil down. If I'm not putting sugar or honey, then just a little bit for the crunch and the flavor. So it's kind of like a goat. It goes with everything. You can even take a scoop of a marmalade in your fridge, and when plating it, put a little scoop there and ice cream and the grilled fruit. Beautiful. Any grilled fruit. I mean, if you do a peach that is very, very ripe and you cut it very thin, you're going to end up with a mess. But then do bigger chunks, and you just want slightly one edge to be burned. It doesn't need that the whole thing. It's not really about cooking the whole thing through. You kind of want to have a little bit of char. So now we're going to sprinkle a little bit of our dressing with a clean spoon. Just a little bit. And now the toasted hazelnuts. Again, the hazelnuts could go on top of the grilled fruit too. Yeah. Toasted pistachios, toasted anything that you have in the house. This is just a nice combination and kind of a nice fall flavor. So that was kind of like the idea of it. We can always add a little bit more of cheese. And again, The slices of the manchego would have been super nice on this as well, but that's if you're having it as a dish alone. Um, Now, my paella pan, generally, you can really, like, sometimes I'll feed 25 people out of the paella pans that I have. And it depends on how much I fill it, but you can do a meal like this, that easy for 25 people, and make entertaining super easy. Like, you can pair a sangria with it. You can do either a white sangria with albariño, and you can do a splash of rose water in it just to give it a twist. Or if you want to take it up another notch, a big splash or more than a splash of some tequila in a white sangria is delicious. So just play with your fruit and be creative. And so now that would end up being a self-serve bar that you just put everything there, the glasses, and you put this big dish out, have everybody serve themselves. There's the drink, one drink only. I like entertaining that way. I hope you guys enjoy it. If there's any further questions, thank you guys.
This program is brought to you by Miami Culinary Institute at Miami-Dade College. For more information about the schools and the Culinarium program, please visit www.miamidadeculinary.com or call 305-237-3276.